do it in radio if you do the right things. He's considered the Rush Limbaugh of the Jersey Shore, inducted in the Broadcast Pioneers Hall of Fame in 2015. Our next speaker is Harry Hurley.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here, and I do realize I'm the only thing standing in the way of Scott Palmer being able to address you all. I'll be mindful of that. About 2 years ago at a Broadcast Pioneers event, I hearkened back to a very good friend of mine, superintendent of public schools with about 30 years of experience, and he told me about 25 years ago, he said, follow the principles of the 3 B's, and you will be successful all the days of your life. Anyone ever hear about the 3 B's? The 3 B's are be brief, be brilliant, be gone. Whenever you're speaking, say what you need to say and waste no words. I was looking around the room after hearing all the great speakers that have presented so far, and I counted about 2,000 years of broadcasting experience here today. 2,000 years. There's 450 just at this table. It's incredible. I mean, a round of applause for the experience that's in this room. And then the beauty of the greatest country ever conceived, the United States of America. This is the meeting every year, the luncheon and the banquet that I love. We have the privilege, because of the job that I'm blessed to sign on each day and do for a little over 4 hours a day. I don't wake up at 1:45 like our last speaker. I do wake up at 2:15 a.m. and I never complain. I usually get up before the alarm clock sounds because I love what I do. My job gives me the opportunity to help people. We've had a situation over the past 25 years, I could recount dozens, hundreds of stories. How about this one? How about a child who's about 9 years old and he has to crawl on the floor because he has a terminal disease. This was going on for way too long. It only went on for 1 more day after I found out about it. And I'm not taking credit for it. I'm the vehicle, the community, and everybody here in your community, it's the same thing. When there's a need, good people step up. All I said on the air when this was brought to my attention, I said a 9-year-old boy crawling on the floor is unacceptable. The reason was he had a vehicle, he had a wheelchair, and a nice one. But the doorways everywhere, there was no ramp to get into the home. The doorways were all too thin for the vehicle. In 5 minutes, contractors called up. Harry, what's the address? We'll be there today. I'm building the ramp. I'm going to take every doorway. We're going to make them all bigger. Every hallway was expanded. This was major construction. Nobody worried about permits and politics and garbage and who's going to get the credit. People probably stepped up $25,000, $40,000, somewhere in that range it probably was. And that child never crawled on the floor again. Amen. That's what we can do. That's the power of the microphone. And when you respect it, when you sign on every day, like you're on probation. I'm in my 26th year. I get a little bit of butterflies every day, and if any broadcaster here says they don't get butterflies, they're lying. And if they don't get butterflies, they should quit, because that means you don't care about what you're doing. I love what I do. We used to do on an ad hoc basis for about my first 15 years in radio and TV. We would do it ad hoc. A school would call, Harry, the kids are running in ragtag uniforms. I said, well, that's not going to stand. We're going to take care of that today. So we would then sponsor and have people that would call in, and they would contribute thousands of dollars. So within a week's time, because great printers and uniform makers and everybody would step up, all of a sudden at high school, the boys and girls team, track and cross country, they're running in beautiful uniforms with their team logo and sweatsuits and everything. And I think everybody will agree with this. In a country that's very divided, there are some things that just, I think everybody universally will accept. And that is sort of how you look is about how you feel, and how you feel is how you'll perform. I'm not saying the uniforms did it, and again, I'm not taking credit. I'm just merely a program that signs on, that tries to help. If a politician is dirty, we're cutting them to ribbons. If it's a beautiful story that we can help, we're doing that. But on this occasion, this team went from really not winning much to suddenly winning state championships, individual performers. And I'm not taking credit, but I believe that when they looked professional, they performed professionally. And they're great to this day. In fact, the Woodbury Relays, anybody in this room know about the Woodbury Relays? It's an incredible track meet that takes place. I saw a few hands go up. I never won a gold watch. We came very, very close when I was in high school, but this team that we were able to help get uniforms for set about 4 school records, won 8 gold watches, and all of this took place probably 15 years after we first helped them with the uniforms. The track team needed starting blocks. They couldn't have the pole vault. Every track meet, they were forfeiting 9 points because first is 5 and then 3 and 1. So they would automatically forfeit every home meet 9 points in a close track meet. The other team may not have had any pole vaulters either, but they forfeited because literally they didn't have the pole vault mat and the equipment. So we said that's unacceptable. So then they have the pole vault mat. So this isn't all that we do, it's some of what we do. And when I was talking about the thousands of years of experience, then I thought on the flip side, all the great students that are here. And you're just starting out. And you're going to hear things along the way that everything has changed and it's not like it used to be and everything's voice tracked and there's no personalities anymore and you can't do this anymore. I'm here to tell you that you can do it, that talent and hard work, there is always an opening for talent and hard work. Is there a single person in this room that disagrees with that statement? Because I don't know how you can challenge that. They're always looking for good people in this business and in every business. What I do every day is I sign on, I sort of have an idea what's happening. Governor Christie might be coming on, Donald Trump could be coming on, local people could be coming on, open forum with people calling in with things you don't even know what's going to happen next. And one of the most exciting things is that you never know what's going to happen next. I'll never forget, it was September 11th, 2001. I'm minding my own business. It's the 9 o'clock news break. And we had CBS News at the time. We have Fox News at this time. I listened to the announcer say that a small plane has hit the World Trade Center. So I immediately thought that it was just pilot error, or somebody was where they probably weren't supposed to be, and that just some kind of mechanical failure or pilot error, and a small plane has hit the World Trade Center. Well, then we hear a second plane has hit the World Trade Center. And what that made me think about, now that we're fast forwarded 15 years later, and it speaks a lot to what our Master of Ceremonies was talking about. Look how fast, like how much things have changed. 15 years ago, it probably took over 20 minutes for the national media and the American people to process that the worst terrorist attack in the history of the country had occurred, because it was a small plane. It wasn't a commercial airliner that was set to take off from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, and that this had been planned so well that they were fully filled with fuel because they were going such a long distance and very few people would be on these planes. The terrorists figured it all out. They'd get us on a memorable date, 9/11. We would talk about it in infamy. They would get us on American Airlines on purpose, U.S. Airlines on purpose to make it memorable. So every September 11th, you all know it's true whether you think about it consciously or not, but on September 11th, you think about that. And that's what the terrorist enemy did to us on that day. But if that happened today, anything like it, the media is typically wrong in their first reports with the numbers of casualties, because I think the business is a little more reckless than it used to be because of competition. I think they used to work harder to get it right, and now it's about getting something out and then you can catch up and get it right later. I think that's a problem. I think that's some self-reflection and analysis that could be done. But it would not take 20 and 30 minutes to know that a commercial airline and then a second commercial airline hit the World Trade Center. So we're at just the speed of light. The social media, I could not agree more with the wonderful presentation that our Master of Ceremonies gave us in terms of how social media, I mean, think about it. Whether you like him or not, Donald Trump, and full disclosure, he hired me many, many years ago, and I have a relationship with Donald Trump, and so I'm not shilling for him. But this much I do know. He has sort of rewritten the playbook. He has spent hardly a dime. He leads by hundreds of delegates, millions of votes. Whether he wins the nomination or not and can beat the system remains to be seen. But he will go in the month of July to Ohio with more delegates and more votes than any other person, spending less money than any other person in modern American history. That could change everything. Now, maybe he's a rare instance because of his celebrity and his television persona and all of that, but I submit that When you look at the voters of today, 80% of millennials, and I'll go up to even age 45 and below, 80% are voting for Bernie Sanders. So as our master of ceremony said, it's not age, it's they see a message and folks gravitate towards a message, and even if they don't agree with that message, I think people are angry at the present government, they're angry at the current system, and perhaps this is the election where we see some things that we've never seen before in our lifetime. It should be very interesting to watch. This much I do know, and I'll conclude with this. To the students, one of the things that I just get the most joy out of, every year I mentioned we did an ad hoc fundraising capacity for about 15 years. That didn't seem to be enough. I wanted to really formalize it. So we started the Hurley in the Morning Charity, and we registered like you should with the IRS, the federal government, New Jersey Charitable Registration Act, and all these requirements, and we became very, very official with it. And we became very focused in our fundraising efforts because there are so many needs. We've emerged from a Great Recession that many people, if you ask them right now in the Northeast, still feel, and especially in the southern portion of my state, still feel like we've not come out of the Great Recession. So there is, I can tell you this, in the last 9 years that we've had our charity, we have seen amazing contributors that have turned into recipients of the grants that we award each year. That's how fast the script can flip. But to all the students, don't listen to any negative information. I don't think any came out from here today. So this is not a hidden remark about anything that's been said before me. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. Work hard, dream, go for the goal. Opportunities are there. You're going to find, it might not be the first time, but you're going to find exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Some people start behind the microphone and then they wind up on the other side, or behind the camera and then they wind up on the other side. You know, we've seen it here in the Delaware Valley where people behind the scenes have become amazing personalities in front of the camera. So it might not be the first job that you get, but every job that you get, one of my first was delivering, well, newspapers, then delivering groceries on a bicycle that was bigger than me with a basket that was just impossible for a little boy to handle, and riding this thing to someone's house, praying that everything was in the bag so I didn't have to ride the bike back, bring some gallon of milk that wasn't in the bag and go all the way back and make 2 trips and usually get tipped the worst when you work the hardest. But it's a privilege to be here. This is I make a lot of the meetings, I make as many as I can. This is the one I try to never miss because I love seeing the scholarships awarded. We're very proud to give one away each year, and we give another scholarship away in another portion of the state. I'm very proud of our Stockton University recipient today who's working very, very hard. And I think it's the story that a lot of the people that you saw receive their $1,000 scholarship today, they almost all have 4.0 GPA. It's incredible. I was nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. But I think she's right there at like 4.0. Incredible school that has grown now to full university status. Stockton University achieved just last week a business accreditation that literally only 5% of institutions in the world can achieve. So a lot of things are happening. I know here in the Philadelphia area, but also home in our area in southern New Jersey. I know you know all the stories about how the casinos have contracted and things like that. Things are not as bad as you hear, but the challenges are significant. Atlantic City is about to go broke, but I can promise you that has happened 3 or more times in the last century, and Atlantic City always reinvents itself. It always comes back. This too shall pass. Atlantic City will be strong again. And again, it's an honor to be here today, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.